Welcome back as we continue our prospect rankings for the 2022 NFL Draft, and we have a hard-hitting affair today as we go over my top 10 linebackers for this class. Of course, if you want to see my full big board, link in the description to my Patreon. You can see my full big board, my full prospect rankings in real time. But what's crack-a-lackin'? It's your boy Broshmo, just in case you did not know. So go ahead, become a bro and subscribe. Leave that thumbs up if you enjoy the content. As always, let me know what you think in the comment section below. Let's go ahead, do the gosh darn, diggity gosh darn thing. Wow, that was redundant. At 10, I got Darrian Beavers out of Cincinnati. He transferred from, I believe, Connecticut, yep, in 2019. And it's unsurprising with this dude's frame. He's built like a pass rusher. He's got length like a pass rusher. He looks like a pass rusher. He was used as a pass rusher for the Huskies, moved to Cincinnati, became a Bearcat, and they decided to put him in off-ball coverage as a linebacker. He would kind of like be kind of like this deep mid guy and then would creep up on the line. But I think there's a good chance you could end up using this guy as kind of basically a stand-up pass rusher or hybrid linebacker, however you want to refer to it, in the NFL. But there would be times where the Bearcats deployed him off the edge where he would show that length and that strong upper body. And I mean, this guy, he was all over the place in terms of, like, as a blitzer, he was very effective, often coming in the B and the C gaps. He had 29 pressures and 7 sacks on 175 pass rushing snaps the last 2 seasons. They do a good job, though, protecting him in coverage. Typically, he would, like I said, drop kind of like mid or deep zone and kind of like play everything in front of him. That's something I'm kind of concerned about when it comes to the NFL. Just his coverage awareness in terms of what's going on behind him. He looked fine in the one-on-ones at the Senior Bowl. I thought that was pretty encouraging, but still, he's the guy you don't want a lot going on behind him where he will have to react to that. Solid tackler, only 11 missed tackle, 11% missed tackle rate. There we go. Words, am I right? But only 11 missed tackles, 11% missed tackles. My gosh, get it together, Broshmo. Over the last 2 years, 3 interceptions, 4 pass breakups. So he did do a little stuff in coverage. He could probably get by as a traditional linebacker, but I think that would be really a waste of just the length, the frame he brings to the position. He isn't like an athlete like a Xavier Collins, or at least I don't think he'll test out like one. But I think he's a similar type of prospect in terms of the type of role you want him to play. Big fan. By the way, when it comes to this linebacker class, this is a very good class. This is a deep class. You're going to have a different top 10 than me. Let me know who you think should have been included in the top 10 in the comment section. Let's go ahead to number 9, Troy Andersen out of Montana State. Upside. This guy is pure, unadulterated upside. He actually came to Montana State playing a variety of different positions. His freshman season, he was fullback, running back, linebacker. I think he played time at quarterback as well. But he settled into the linebacker position during his sophomore year. They didn't have a 2020 season, so you could tell like he used that foregone year, that lost season, to kind of polish up on some of his technique and understanding of the position. Because this is a guy very much so still learning the position. He's rumored to run a 4.5 40. And I expect this guy to be really good at the combine. He looks like an athletic freak, especially during the Senior Bowl. You saw the explosiveness. You saw some of the agility. So there's a lot of that on his freshman and junior film. There, again, a bit rawness to this guy, but he's a great athlete. He showed improvements as a tackler, but still I think he's kind of a ways away. Of being like a sure tackler. He just needs to do a better job of wrapping up. He had an 18.8% missed tackle rate in 2019. It dropped to 10.8% this past season, but he did miss 2 tackles in the Senior Bowl game. So by no means is he a finished or polished prospect in that regard. As a run defender, he still kind of goes with the flow of the play than rather being that guy that blows it up. And you see at times on his tape where he kind of just overruns or takes bad angles just because, again, he gets lost in the flow of the play than rather trying to attack it. And you could tell, at least I think he's a guy early on. You don't want to start early on just because I think he kind of gets, like, he'll get lost to the manipulation of the NFL, whether it's taking the eye candy of a quarterback trying to read their eyes, or if it's like pre-snap motion. You could tell he has problems tracking the ball carrier in the backfield. He gets kind of lost to where the ball actually is. But he has been very dangerous in coverage. He's got instincts. He's got a nose to find the football. He had 3 interceptions, 9 pass breakups through 2 seasons at Montana State. The dude plays fast, high motor, plays to the whistle, through the whistle. That's why I think you're going to see him go on day 2. At number 8, Tindall out of Georgia. Actually, one of my favorite prospects. You probably most famously remember him for, if you watch the Senior Bowl, or at least the practices, where at the end they had Brian Robinson square up against Tindall in pass pro, and Robinson just laid a devastating hit on Tindall that like forced him, like legitimately did a like 360 hit, span the other way. And actually I would say he kind of won the rep because Robinson didn't really follow through after the hit. And I would say actually Tindall won the set. Now Tindall is a very explosive athlete. He is sideline to sideline, just extremely athletic. Really got his first taste of starting experience this season at Georgia, really, because he only came into the season with a little over 200 snaps to his name. But he's so explosive coming downhill, and he's shown like the power to be able to stack offensive linemen, which is pretty impressive. Plays with a lot of momentum, and he's just, the best way to describe this guy's playing style is violent. He wakes up in the morning, he chooses violence, whether it's like how he like tackles a ball carrier, stripping the ball, hammering down, punching it, or even just like when he gets stuck on a block, just how he like tries to control the pads or rip away at the hands of a blocker. Like, he be violent. He had 28 stops on the season as a pass rusher, 15 pressures, 8 sacks on only 55 pass rushing snaps. He's actually a pretty darn good blitzer. Now, limited coverage responsibilities. This is how they utilized him there at Georgia. He essentially was a QB spy linebacker, especially like against more mobile quarterbacks. They would have him kind of sit in a spy the quarterback, and then have him charge. Like, he did this against Tennessee's Hendon Hooker, sacking him 3 times in that game. He's got great short area quickness. His closing speed's insane. Like, he is a very good linear athlete. Where I got questions is, how good will he be in terms of laterally? Like, will he show that agility at the combine? That's what I'm kind of like curious about, because you didn't really see that a ton on film because he wasn't really asked to move a lot sideways. So, sure tackler, only 8.8% missed tackle rate this season, pretty solid. Talked about how he's kind of protected in coverage, but he's twitchy, man. The dude's twitched up. Kind of curious how he is as a processor, and you do kind of question the size. 6'1", 223. He's kind of slim. He's got a heavier upper base or heavier upper body than he does lower body, so it's not exactly an ideal build. But the guy brings power. He brings violence. I just love this play style. Like, turn it on the film. I knew they weren't asking him to do a lot, but I knew I was going to see him utterly dismantle somebody, whether they had the ball or not. I just loved it. And then at number 7, Brandon Smith. He kind of got lost, I think, with the Senior Bowl coming, and I think he kind of got lost. He's like a forgotten about prospect in this class. But I think there's good reason why he probably goes down the list for some people, just because of he's relatively new to a traditional linebacker position. Keep in mind, he played an overhang role for Penn State the year prior, where he was kind of this like hybrid slot overhang and safety for Penn State. Now, he did play, like I said, played most of his snaps in 2020 in the slot. He moved to a more traditional linebacker role, and things were kind of weird because, like, I know this guy coming downhill. You look at 2020, A lot of explosiveness coming downhill, and he loves to lay the lumber. You didn't see that quite a bit at this season, because I think it's just you're playing against now. You're playing more in the box against offensive linemen, tight ends, just bigger players in general. You didn't see that type of ferociousness or physicality. You just didn't see that from him, and so that's where I put contact inconsistencies, just because you didn't see it. He wasn't that, like, the dude loves to hit stick, and you just didn't see that mentality quite this much in 2021. But the dude's so fluid as an athlete. He's long, he's rangy, he's got this ideal frame, 6'3", 241, to be a linebacker. In coverage this season, I thought he did a pretty solid job, where he allowed under 250 yards in coverage. Wouldn't mind seeing more ball skills, but again, he's got the length to really disrupt passing lanes and to contest the catch point consistently. There will be aspects where he kind of gets led astray by more veteran savvy quarterbacks with how they use their head and their eyes. But again, that just comes with him getting to know the position a bit more. I do bring up the missed tackle rate, 14.8% missed tackle rate over his career. A lot of that is just his mentality as a tackler. He likes to lay the lumber rather than secure the tackle. But I think I don't mind that one bit. I don't mind that type of physicality. So it's just going to be interesting to see how he adjusts to just playing in the box more. Will we see how will that learning curve go? Because we saw it last year, and it was like, okay, where's that explosiveness? Where's that willingness coming downhill to like take on these bigger body guys? Where is that? So we'll see about that. So that's why I think he kind of falls off for some people. Still a great prospect, great linebacker class, by the way, 2nd round grade, and he's my 7th linebacker. At number 6, Christian Harris. Christian Harris, man, he had one heck of an SEC championship and national championship. He has the ideal frame when it comes to being a linebacker. Plays with good athleticism, good length, very explosive athlete as well. He takes on blocks with relative ease. He was a disruptor in both as a pass rusher and in the run game. 31 pressures on and 6 sacks on 116 pass rushing snaps. Didn't have the same type of success this season, only 14 pressures and 4 sacks, but still, he is a guy that likes to track down ball carriers. Like, he does a good job of that. For the most part, he's a pretty decent tackler as well. Where's that missed tackle rate? 9.2% this season. So I like that. Despite his career coverage numbers, like, this is a guy like you trust more in man-to-man coverage than you do in like zone. There are times where he sits and he's kind of lost in zone. So you kind of worry about that. You kind of like wonder, will he get those zone eyes and that feel? Will that be something he can process a bit higher? But he's this kind of like every team linebacker, you know? He's a plus blitzer, plus tackler. He can stack blockers. He stack offensive linemen, explosive athlete, tracks the ball well. There are times when he is tracking down ball carriers. He can be knocked off balance. He plays like a wild man at times. So there is that. You'll see him on the ground a ton on plays. We're just trying to, again, seek out the ball carrier. But for the most part, I think the biggest thing going to the NFL is, can he be more proactive in coverage rather than reactive? And we're going to use that phrase again a little later on. All right, we go to Chad Muma at number 5. This dude is like athletic Logan Wilson. He's a plus athlete. He displays a tremendous amount of agility around the line of scrimmage. He can make himself real tiny to get in between tackles, and he does a good job of dipping under blocks. As a pass rusher, he's been very good as a blitzer in general. 41 pressures and 6 sacks on 146 pass rushing snaps. He can maneuver the line of scrimmage pretty darn well. But there is that, for his size, I'd like to see him a little bit more physicality. And that was something during the Senior Bowl, during the running, I think it was the 7-on-7 or 11-on-11, the running drills, where it was like you kind of noticed that lack of physicality when he does get latched onto. He's kind of out of the play. But I think that's something he could definitely overcome. Like, you see this guy's instincts in coverage. You see this guy's he hasn't had 59 stops just last season, 8% missed tackle rate. He's a sure tackler. In coverage, he came up with 3 interceptions and a pass breakup. Like, he is a 3-down linebacker at the next level. So I just want to see him take on blocks better, because you do kind of see that where when he does come in as a blitzer, he kind of gets a free shot, a free hole. He's good at being an opportunist in that regard, but in the running game, like, will he be able to get those stops if a blocker, if a lineman lays hands on him? So that is my one concern. Going to number 4, I got Chenal out of Wisconsin. Not typically my flavor of tea when it comes to linebacker, but this was something I kind of was trying to move more towards to last year, because I'm a sucker for, I admit it, I'm a sucker for a coverage linebacker. You'll see that with my next pick, or the guy that's number 3. I'm a sucker for a good coverage linebacker, a guy with just like great range and all that. Maybe undersized, but who cares? So this guy's like totally different for me, because I kind of said this last year when it came to like a Micah Parsons, that if you're not going to be a consistent coverage guy, you better be one hell of a blitzer. And well, that's Chenal, man. He's got raw power and physicality around the line of scrimmage. He was just been a crazy blitzer. He had 21 pressures and 9 sacks on only 96 pass rushing snaps last season. And just he's real light on his feet at 6'2", 261. Might not have like big acceleration or short area quickness, but he moves well for a guy his size. And Wisconsin, they lined him up all, as T-Pain would said, Wisconsin. It lined him up from the A gap to the B gap. Like, he wins around the line of scrimmage with power and with one of my favorite words when it comes to defense, violence. He is violent. He forced 2 fumbles last year, 58 stops, was among the best among linebackers. 8.9 missed tackle rate, real good. And like I said, dude, you're not going to want this guy consistently dropping back in coverage a lot, because Wisconsin, they really protected him in coverage and kind of had him just like kind of spot drop. But I think he can efficiently, if you do ask him to sit back in coverage, he can limit gains underneath. He's a guy that will reliably tackle these guys, come in the middle, underneath, and he'll limit big gains. I think, but regardless, this guy's role, he's suited to be around the line of scrimmage. For a big man, he moves a lot better laterally than you'd expect. So this is it for me. You know, if I'm gonna go in on a guy that's limited in coverage, it's gonna be this type of guy. So, Chenal, you are not exactly my cup of tea, but you know what? Maybe it's time for me to change my taste. And then Brian Asamoah coming here at number 3. Like I said, I'm a sucker for a good coverage linebacker. Like, I was a huge fan of, like, a couple of years ago, Sean and Bradley out of Temple, you know, and he's still somewhere hanging around the league. Davion Taylor, I liked him from Colorado. I'm a sucker for these guys that are just sideline to sideline athletes. Like, I would even dare say Asamoah is an elite athlete almost. The length, the range, like, he came in at the Senior Bowl with this insane arm length and wingspan. Just, you know, this guy's going to consistently contest passing lanes. He's going to be around the catch point. And I wasn't that high on him coming into the year because, like, you saw the athleticism, but he didn't have a lot of production to his name. Like my first note here in in my spreadsheet of many different prospects in my eval was year 2 he looked like a much different player, because year 1 as a starter he was a poor tackler. He didn't do much in coverage, but he brought down that missed tackle rate from 16.7% to 7.4%. He likes to hit hard and pound at the ball, like another guy that is just violent when it comes to when he wraps a guy up. He's constantly scraping at that ball. I like that. And he just looked much more comfortable in coverage. And I think he just looked comfortable in general at the linebacker position. Like this I wrote this down, that he does a lot of things pre-snap to get guys in position, calling out different assignments and realignments with the front seven. Like, he had a lot of responsibilities at Oklahoma that I thought was pretty impressive. And honestly, that's something the NFL like loves. They will keep their worst player on the field if he is a guy that can get everyone into the right spots and position. That's just happens to be like the case, because it's that important. You may be the weak link on your defense, but if you can get everyone into ideal positions so that they can execute their roles and responsibilities to the best of their abilities, then that's kind of valuable. And Asamoah, he's a guy that can do that, but he is by no means going to be the weak link. But while he's not necessarily that playmaker yet in coverage in terms of ball skills, the guy's got the athleticism, the range, the length to really become that. So I wouldn't really take it out of the cards just yet. Again, I'm sucker for these high-end athletes, but there will be some questions about a lack of size at 6 foot, 222. He's real lanky, and he's not a guy that really liked to take on blocks. But I'm a sucker for these guys, and like I wrote here, be more plays more reactive than proactive. And again, I think that's something that'll come with time and how he sees the field, a little more film study and kind of picking up on tendencies that the offense does, tendency that the offense does, route tendencies, especially when it comes to like knowing the down, knowing the distance. What do these teams like to run? I think that's something that'll come in time as long as he like really dedicates himself to film study. But Brian Asamoah, I got a first round grade on him. I'm a sucker for a good coverage guy. And then number 2, Nakobe Dean, top 20 prospect. You probably know who number 1 is. And really it's 1A and 1B. Size is going to be the concern. Size, length. It might be a tough sell point for some teams. They might not see him as a middle linebacker. Might see him more of his weak side guy. But this dude's athleticism's off the charts. He plays fast, great movement skills. And I think he's going to test out pretty freaky at the combine. But this dude just makes big plays all the time. I always love going back to the Kentucky game where everyone on that Georgia team bit on the screen. It was like they were around the red zone, literally 3 blockers. Then you have I think it was Chris Rodriguez that was taking the screen. Everyone's bite into the left side of the field, while Nakobe Dean's the only one going right, and he blows through 3 blockers to make the tackle. Utterly ridiculous. You also have the pick 6 from Florida. I like writing down these moments because he had a lot of moments. He had a pick 6 against Florida where he lined up on the outside with Malik Davis, one of the running backs there of Florida, and he just showed that explosiveness, just bit on the pass and got it right. Now, like I just love Dean, man. I love Dean a lot. He really cleaned up as a tackler from 2020. He got that percentage down to 11%, which is good. He is a guy that is, like, despite his size, he comes downhill explosively. He comes downhill with a lot of steam, and he uses momentum to really stack blockers. But there are times where like he kind of like he just doesn't diagnose the run play accurately, and he kind of like he fills in the wrong gap and he picks the wrong run in lane. There are a few of those on his film, but the dude, he plays big. I think his awareness, his instincts in coverage, and just to kind of like know what the defense or the offense is running, is just high end. He's a very opportunistic pass rusher. 17 pressures, 6 sacks on 77 pass rushing snaps. I mean, there's a reason that, if you remember Monty Rice from last year, 3rd round pick by the Titans, Nakobe Dean literally took Monty Rice's starting spot mid-season away from him. Like, Rice didn't get hurt or nothing. It was like, we can't keep Nakobe Dean off the field. This guy is special. And I really do think he can be. And then number 1 or 1A, however you want to call it, Devin Lloyd. Another guy that's typically not my cup of tea, but I think he's going to translate exceptionally well to the NFL and relatively quickly. I think he's a pro-ready guy. Long frame, he's going to be able to clog passing lanes with that length. Might be the best all-around linebacker when it comes to just being around the line of scrimmage. Takes on blocks exceptionally well. He gets in the backfield relatively effortlessly. He had 27 stops in 2020, and that was the shortened season. 10 tackles for loss during it was 5 games too. Now, this season, 50 stops, 26 pressures, 8 sacks. Like, he's a guy that, like, he can rush off the edge, or you could have him come in as an extra blitzer. He's got good short area quicks too. He can get out to the flats real quick, and he takes really good angles, and he could push a play to the sidelines if need be. By no means is he really a liability in coverage. He made a lot more plays in coverage this year. This is a guy that really likes being on the ground too. Like, he laid out for a couple of those interceptions. To be fair, like, they were tipped balls. Because I think he had 3 interceptions on the year, but 2 of them were tipped passes where he laid out to make the catch. So he might have some good hands. But the dude plays with a high motor. He's a 3-down linebacker, 11.8 missed tackle rate. That's something else I want to bring up. Like I said, he likes being on the ground. He's kind of this dive and drag type of tackler rather than kind of squaring up with somebody and wrapping himself around them. So, again, kind of nitpicking here. Not an elite athlete for the position, not an elite athlete like your Brian Asamoah or Nakobe Dean. Those guys are going to test out exceptionally well. I think even Chad Muma might be a better athlete, but he's not a bad athlete. He's an above average athlete for the position. That's good. It's good. I love his frame. This dude's got the power to stack blockers. Like, the dude's a top 20 prospect for a good reason. There's a reason why you see him getting picked at the Broncos at 9 a lot, since no one wants to pick linebacker or quarterback for the Broncos because everyone thinks it's going to be Aaron Rodgers, which they wouldn't have that pick anyway. But yeah, no, Lloyd's great. He should translate relatively quickly, and teams won't be scared off from his like size and frame like they would be with Nakobe Dean. But this is a good linebacker class. Let me know who you think should have been included. I bet you I'm going to see a ton of Quay Walkers, Damian Clark, 2 guys I really like. Maybe Jack Sanborn. I mean, there's sleepers in here I like too. James Houston out of Jackson State. It's been one of my like All-Star Bowl week, like all-stars, dude. He's been one of my favorite guys to watch. But let me know in the comment section below. That's it for the video. Go ahead, do that YouTube thing, and of course, and as always, that's the line, not of course. And as always, you be easy, my friends. Later.